I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Okay, first thing is to approve the agenda. I'm going to add an item. It's going to be item 5A, and what this is going to be the chamber would like to have the city act as the fiscal agent for a Southwest Initiative Paint the Town grant. So we will address that. Mike just got a call from Deb at the chamber. So
At 5 o'clock as I was walking out the door. Hot off the press.
any other additions or changes or anything to the agenda?
No.
Okay, I guess I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Second by Sean Ryan. If there's no other comments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Okay, the agenda is approved. First thing on the agenda, Ken, I think you're going to take this.
I will.
So just kind of a little, Ken will kind of give us a little update on item number 1 regarding the rezoning issues and amending the comprehensive plan. And then I'm going to give Jason Witt the opportunity to come forward to the council and explain their proposal. And then after that, we will open it up for public comment. On the public comment, we need you to come up because obviously we're on cable now. We need you to come up to the center desk there, sit down, state your name and address, so we have that for the record. So does everyone understand? Okay, Ken?
All right. So as the mayor said, we're reviewing a comprehensive plan amendment and rezoning for property in the Eastland Development, which is south of Coborn's and east of Prague Estates 5th edition and other editions. So we had a public hearing with the Planning Commission on the March 23rd Planning Commission meeting, and again, this request was reviewed. The proposed rezoning, and I'll show a map here in a minute, would include rezoning B2 commercial land, which is a lot area directly south of Coborn's but north of 3rd Street, to medium-density residential, and then moving a medium-density residential district that actually lies south of 3rd but north of 5th, and extending that all the way down to 5th. Right now it is divided roughly halfway between 3rd and 5th. That follows the line with Gillian Street as an east-west kind of boundary. The actual layout of the proposed townhomes would be through a plan unit development, so that would be done at a future planning commission meeting and a future city council review, and as I said, another public hearing process for that. So we don't have all the details of the layout at this point. At the public hearing, we did have 5 residents that spoke. More than that were in attendance, but we had 5 spoke. We had 1 letter submitted, and that is in your packet from Lori Hodap from the Planning Commission meeting that was in the packet for all the council people to see. And all the comments generally ranged from concerns of loss of property value, traffic concerns, questions about the wetlands and how they would be handled in the area. And then one comment was having elderly residents located adjacent to them and potential conflicts with kids playing and noises and things such as that. The applicant, in this case Jason and Chris Witt, were at the meeting. They noted that they have documented a high demand for high-end townhomes that don't exist today. Noted that they had sold out of their Heritage Village lots up in the Flag, Independence, and Freedom Avenue area. And noted that there are over 200 single-family lots in the city available today that are ready to build on, platted, ready to go. City staff noted at the hearing that we had done a number of speed studies on 3rd Street, Chalupski Avenue, from basically Highway 19 all the way down to 9th Street. Noted that we had not documented any speeding problems, but we would obviously be reviewing the traffic information again for the area and make sure that we have everything appropriately handled. But we had actually looked at that initially back in 2007 when the Eastland plat was initially developed and platted. It just hadn't been installed until this time due to the economy and other factors. And I can probably let Jason talk to that more. So ultimately, the staff recommendation or not the staff recommendation, but the planning commission recommendation was two different items. First item was the approval of the resolution that's in your packet tonight that would amend the comprehensive plan. That has to be adopted by a 4 out of 5 vote of the council. So I do want to note that 4 out of 5 of you would have to vote in favor. If that were to pass, then there would be an introduction on a rezoning ordinance, and this would be the first reading tonight, should we get to that point. And then a second reading could occur potentially as early as the April 18th meeting. A little more background information. I know this doesn't show up real well on the TVs and everything, but this is 3rd Street as it would be extended over to the east. This area here is directly south of Colborne's. That's what they're proposing to rezone from B2 community commercial to RM medium density residential. The area directly to the west of this is actually high density residential with more of the condominium 2-level townhomes and then detached single family townhomes as well to the west there. So it would be similar zoning to that. And I don't believe at the public hearing that was much of a discrepancy over that particular area. The bigger discussion became the area south of 3rd but north of 5th. Currently the medium density residential zoning is basically from 3rd to roughly this line here that would line up with if you were to extend Jillian Street to the east. So there's actually 2 lots that are platted right there that could fit a total of 4 townhome units today, already approved with the zoning. But the issue again was the area south of that. We had an additional 3 single-family lots that were platted on both sides of Autumn Avenue, and that was really the main point of the discussion, and the single-family homes that back up to these particular units on the west side of Autumn Avenue. This map is a little better to see that breakout. So again, the red color, they're proposing to rezone to the medium density residential. We already have the strip of medium density residential right in the middle, south of 3rd. It's this area south of there, but north of 5th, that's really the crux of the argument here tonight. So I'll leave that air photo up there. Actually, I'm going to just put up the zoning and we'll leave it there. That's all I have from a staff report perspective. Maybe open it up for Jason to...
First, anyone have any questions to Ken before? Okay. Jason, if you'd be so kind.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me? I want everybody to be able to hear. Again, my name is Jason Witt. I'm at 29437 141st Avenue. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Ken, thanks for presenting that. That was a good summary. I'm just going to restate a few of the things that Ken said. We're proposing to rezone some commercial land and single-family residential into some medium-density multifamily. And Ken did mention there's currently, I don't know what the exact number is, but well over 200 single-family lots available in New Prague ready to be built on. And I think there's less than 10 spots for townhome or twin home type projects. So there's really not a lot of room in the city as it's currently laid out for the type of townhomes we're looking to build. At the last planning commission, or at the planning commission meeting, there was a question about what are you planning to build? What's the price range? I didn't have good data for at that meeting, but I do have it now, and I don't know if Ken was able to get you that last minute information. But the last 6 units we sold in Heritage Village, kind of the 3 buildings that we built after the crash, I'll call it. One of them was a slab-on-grade building. Those 2 units sold for $245,000 and $259,000. So the slab-on-grades were, in the $250,000 range, which I stated at the Planning Commission meeting. And the units with basements sold. There was 4 total individual units there: $349,000, $366,000, $338,000, and $325,000. So those were the last 6 units, and we plan to build a similar quality, size, building feature characteristics to that. And actually, since we built those buildings, the building code has actually increased the cost of building. So even if we tried to build this exact building today, they'd be anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 higher just in the building code changes from when we built these to today. So what I would call upper end townhomes for New Prague is what we're looking at. The preliminary plan calls for 26 units. If we stay with this, obviously, like Ken said, it has to go through a conditional use permit and planned unit development yet. So there's a lot of details to be worked out, but that's our preliminary layout that we submitted to the city with this rezoning request. 6 of them right now would have basements, 20 of them would be slab on grade. But like I said, the final layout and design will be based on what we come up with from comments from the city and the planning commission and the city engineer and all of that. We will have an association. We keep referring back to the Heritage Village area, but it will be similar to that. There's one association that governs I think about 76 units that are completely sold out. They take care of all the exterior maintenance of the buildings, lawn care, driveway plowing, tree trimming, shrub trimming, pruning. They will take care of all that. We plan to look into the possibility of a berm to separate the single-family residential from the multifamily. If it works into the grading plan, we don't know that yet. Smarter people than I haven't looked at this yet far enough to decide if a berm can fit there without adversely affecting water drainage and all that. So if we can fit a berm in along that western edge of this project, we would put it there. Otherwise, some heavy trees, pine trees type separation between the single family and the medium density. We would propose to start construction this summer. Our engineer is waiting just to hear if this gets rezoned, and then they will start design immediately if that happens, and we would hope to be at the next planning commission meeting to start looking into the conditional use permit and the planned unit development. The last thing I would just say is that we're a local company. Our employees are local. They live in New Prague. They live around New Prague. Many of the subcontractors that we work are from New Prague, and we take pride in the quality of the product we put out, and hope that you will approve our rezoning request tonight.
Okay, any questions for?
I have one for Jason.
Yes.
Why not just put single-family homes right there? I mean, I know you're building up in Heritage. You're obviously selling those houses.
Yep.
Why not just put single-family homes on at least those that directly abut the?
We feel that going this far south would be a better separation. It also allows for a few more units. Like I stated, there's over 200 single-family unit residential lots already available, and there's I don't know of any townhomes that are under construction new and less than 10 lots in New Prague that are available for that, and there's demand for that. We're getting calls, and we have people that are waiting to see what happens so that they could pursue some plans. So there's demand for it.
Right. You know, we're referenced
Yep.
the townhomes over on Flag and
Yep.
and Independence Avenue, and I drove over there today before the meeting, and there's 3 of those units for sale right now. So, I mean, it's not like they're not coming on the market.
No, they're not. They are coming on the market, yes.
Right. So, I
But-
mean, there is opportunities for people looking to move up and get out of a single-family home as they age or whatever, and to find property within New Prague. My concern is, the plan is fine on the directly south of Coburn's and whatnot. I just don't know why we can't come to an agreement with some of the other residents who did purchase houses there with the understanding that it was going to be single-family homes, why at least half, more like 75% of your development couldn't still work with the townhomes.
Yep.
And then put some single-family in on that side of the street, that would be the share backyard with the other single-family homes.
Yes, well, we wouldn't, yeah, we want to keep it contiguous, so if we stopped it on that side, we wouldn't want to continue it with the basement units. But to answer your question about the lots for, or units for sale, there's tens of 80 to 100 homes for sale in New Prague, but yet we continue to build new homes.
Right.
So there's obviously a demand for people that don't want the units that are there, or want a different layout, or want a newer product. There is demand for people that want to build new. And there's plenty of single-family lots available, and there will be in this development further south when we get into that. But there is a shortage of multifamily townhome-type lots, which I think Ken can attest to, and just by the number of lots available in town.
Okay. Well, Ken, do we have over that Raven Stream development, there's still over on
Yep.
Whisper Street and over by the,
Yeah, we've got a little over 8 acres overall over that could develop that way potentially. That's
into
really
multifamily?
Yeah, that's zone medium density today.
Medium density.
That'd really be the only area that would truly be development ready for that, short of, again, coming in for a planned unit development layout. Yeah, I looked at that earlier, and there's not much out there. That's a fact. There are other lots that are single-family platted lots, as far as size, similar to this, that are actually zoned multifamily, even in the Raven Stream development, that there could be a planning development to lay those out differently, but we do allow single families in a medium-density residential district on the flip side. Kind of allows some flexibility, I guess. But obviously, Jason's not proposing to have it rezoned RM, medium density, and then build single families. He truly wants to have the townhomes there. So, yeah, we don't have a lot of area for that.
But theoretically, we could put single-family homes in a medium density.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have majority of a Raven Stream development around Raven Stream Elementary is zoned RM medium density, but just happens to be single-family homes.
Well, I guess why I bring that up, Jason, is because I'm really looking for some type of compromise with the residents that purchased homes, believing that behind them was going to be single-family homes, and then yet trying to realize your plan of meeting that market demand as well for the medium-density townhomes. We still don't know if you can even put a berm in there, yet to shield the houses, and I don't even know if that's acceptable to them because we haven't heard that from them yet. And nobody's even trying to contradict the fact that you guys build beautiful homes. I mean, I back up to several in my neighborhood. My neighbors have them. I have friends in them, and I can attest to the quality. I have no doubt that they're going to be first rate. But I do have an issue with rezoning after the fact. We saw it already go on in Prague Estates on the other side, closer to the mayor and myself. We saw it right behind Doherty Circle, where they put in 4 houses along 10th, between 10th and 3rd there, and kind of crammed them in there against the residents in the area's wishes. And I just have a tough time running roughshod over and changing these things on a dime that affect people.
Well, I guess I wouldn't call it roughshod. I mean, it's the process that you have to go through to get something accomplished with the rules. And
Right.
I guess I still have a hard time understanding what is the negative to having a nicely built townhome of good value in your backyard. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, and we haven't heard from them yet. They'll
Yep.
speak next, so hopefully they can explain
One
some
of the
their concerns.
discussions was property values, but up in Heritage Estates and around Heritage Village, no, there are not any homes that back right up to another townhome, but those are some of the highest values homes in town, along with the highest valued townhomes.
Sure.
So I don't think that you can make the argument, or you can try and make the argument, but I don't think it's true that putting these townhomes is going to negatively affect someone's property value. We have a a professional lawn care service that's going to basically guarantee that people mow their lawns when they're supposed to be mowed, take care of weeds when they're supposed to be taken care of. With single-family homes, you don't necessarily have that, or it's a lot more difficult to get that accomplished because you don't have the association and the association behind you to get those types of things done. I think along Heritage Trail, where there's townhomes on one side of the road and single-family homes on the opposite side of the road, there is a considerable amount of trees and berming and landscaping that we've tried to use to differentiate the single family from the residential, and I don't know what the negative is. No one's convinced me of what the negative is to that, I guess. Traffic, Ken or an engineer could speak to this more than I can, but the argument could be made that the traffic in the area will actually be less with townhomes than it would be with single family. We don't allow businesses, we don't allow daycares, we don't allow in-home businesses that bring people to and from. There's not going to be a salon in any of these where the number of traffic trips per day is going to be in the teens or 20s. So it's actually less than what a single-family neighborhood could be. So I'm trying to understand that. Going back to changing it, that was I believe we got this approved in 2007. At the time, we looked at it and we said, should we do some townhomes? At the time, there was a lot of townhomes out there. There was a lot of townhome lots out there. We didn't think there was as much of a need for it then. A lot has changed since we were planning that and got it approved in 2007. Everyone knows that we went through the deepest housing recession possibly in the country, or in the history of this country. We also had the parish debacle, you know. So a lot has changed since we zoned this originally. We tried to do the best we could with what we have, and along with the other developments that you're trying to project what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years in these developments when you're designing them, and you don't always have the right answer. And to say that coming back is going roughshod, I don't think you can say that, because plans need to be revisited all the time.
And maybe roughshod was a little harsh of a term, but again, it does affect people, other residents that built houses there. Whether it's going to affect their property value or not, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see that. But if they do have an issue with it, and the fact that it really would only affect 3 or 4 of your units there, and we have the opportunity to put single family in there, and I think that might be at least a compromise with these guys if they had single family homes sharing a backyard with it.
Yep.
But I'm just curious why we can't seem to work that out with the residents. Why do you have to have that many units?
Why do we have to have that many units? Because we decided that layout makes the best sense for us, and that's what we're shooting for. I mean, could we do something different? We could possibly do something different, but this is the plan that we're proposing because we believe it's the best layout, the best chance of keeping it as much of a neighborhood as possible, both for the single family around it and for the townhomes. So we don't want to have just 2 units here or 2 buildings here and then single family and then some more buildings over here. We want to try to make it kind of a neighborhood like Heritage Village. And to decide how many is enough, I don't know, but one of the planning commission tenants, or planning, Ken, you might be able to help me here, but one of the what's that?
Commissioners.
No, one of the the goals of the plan of housing in New Prague is to have a diverse array of housing opportunities. And right now there is virtually 0 housing opportunities for twin home development like this in New Prague. Over by Ravenstream, by Ravenstream, that's actually laid out for everyone calls them they're the 8-plexes, the
Right.
back-to-back. that's how that area is all laid out. It's not really laid out for this type of a townhome development. So yes, that's available, but it's not really available for this type of a development. It's more set up for the 8-unit type buildings that we're not marketing, or we're not shooting for those. As far as areas in New Prague that allow for this type development, there's only 2 or 3 lots that I can even think of that wouldn't have to go through some type of change within the city regulations to be able to put townhomes on. So I think it's part of the city's own planning goals to have a wide variety. So I would think we should want to have some variety in housing, and yes, there's a lot of single-family lots available right now. There's a lot of commercial available right now, but there's virtually zero townhome, this type of townhome of land available for development.
Do you envision in the future here this outlot B being utilized for those same type of houses?
That's a wetland, so
is a
that's
wetland?
yeah, that's a wetland. So that's not available for development.
Jason, can you speak to the traffic, like, is it Alton?
Yep.
That'll get developed over there, and maybe where there might be some relief to it. And then at the planning commission, there was also some neighbors that were concerned about the wetland to the south. And you were able to check on that to find out would cause more of a backup in the wetland, or the drainage, or the structure?
I did, Joe, or Billy Bartuszek did stop in. We went through the plans. There is a pipe that's designed to, that the city has reviewed, and our engineer, that's designed to take the water out of that area, so it shouldn't back up more than it already is. No. So that was addressed in the stormwater management. As far as the Alton Avenue, there, we will extend that to Third and connect that. It's just the timing. I need to work with the city to come up with when that is gonna be built, but that will be built as part of Eastland, which is the 40 acres that were there. So by the time, we have to work it out as far as timing, when it makes sense to finish that roundabout, because that's a huge expense. And we have to make that work with the whole, whenever the city deems that we need to have it there, and whenever it makes sense timing-wise to put that in. But yes, you'll be able to leave Third and go out to Alton, or come through Alton and go on to Third. Yes. Does that answer your question?
Okay.
What about this outlot C here? Along Autumn.
That's the
That's the
pond.
that's the
That's the
stormwater
stormwater?
pond, yeah.
Okay.
That has to be there. Obviously, that's a nice area overlooking the pond, but due to elevations, we have to put it there
Okay.
to get the water to get to that area, and then the overflow is into the wetland, but that is a pond, so. Sorry, I must have been moving something. Yeah, Outlot C is the pond for the development. And then B is an actual wetland that we can't change.
Jason, do you notice in your heritage, one of the comments is traffic? Do you see much traffic in that area relative to some of the areas you've got single-family homes?
Like through the development, Heritage Trail, there's obviously quite a
There
bit
would
of
be,
traffic,
yes,
but we don't have any driveways onto Heritage Trail. But once you get inside the development, Independence, Flag, and Freedom, I would say, I honestly think there's less traffic in that development than there is on the other parts of Heritage Estates that are single family, because a great majority of those are empty nesters with no kids or anything living at home, and there's just not, and they don't have daycares, they don't have anything in the houses that will generate a lot of traffic, so there's just not a lot of traffic throughout there. It's people coming and going as they do errands or going to work and coming home, but not a lot other than that.
Okay. Ken, I know this is not comparing apples and apples, but if you were to compare heritage townhomes with those by Raven Stream, is there a great deal of difference in the price range? Quality, if you can address that, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
the ones in Raven Stream are very similar to what would be on Horizon Drive, which is kind of south of Holy Trinity in that area. Completely different type of unit.
Okay.
I mean, you're talking kind of a starter dwelling unit for what's in Raven Stream. A lot of them have converted over to rentals just due to the economy and turnover. Yeah, different demographic completely.
Okay.
A lot of, 2 levels, stairs aren't real good for the demographic that they've got in Heritage Village. So, yeah, very different.
Jason, are you moving that pond? I mean, if I look, it looks like that pond is right behind the Coburns in this aerial shot.
That's a wetland also, so
But I notice in your plan, you have units right there where that pond is.
around it,
Around it?
yes,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah, we can't, that was one of the first questions they asked is if we can move the wetland, and short answer is there's really no criteria that would be met to allow it to be moved. So they have to keep that wetland, kind of show it the highlighter here. Basically show it, keep it where it is, and we require a buffer around that, a natural buffer. So they have to work around that. And the buffer is covered by an easement from the platting back in '07, but that limits severely kind of the layout that they can do up in that area.
And then-
Obviously adds aesthetic to it too, but.
Okay, so then where Fifth Street ends, right there, and there's units going in across right there.
Yep.
No, on the other side of what will be Autumn.
Oh, over here.
Yeah, right
Yep,
there.
Yep.
So why, I guess what I was trying to say is that the elevation issue that, to put the stormwater? You couldn't put the stormwater where you have these units in Outlot C and just slide those down. Would you have the opportunity to do that, or?
Well, that pond takes drainage from Third and Fifth and throughout the whole development. So,
I guess, and the reason I'm asking this, again, I'm still trying to work some type of compromise. And I get where you don't want to split up the units and have, I mean, I could see where that probably doesn't make sense. But if you could take these 3 units that you have right here and push those down right along the corner, right across the street from that pond, where the new Third Street's gonna go, and put the runoff here, then you still have all your units lumped together, and then maybe you could put a couple single-family homes against the other.
I don't have that data in front of me, and this was designed back in 2005 and 6, I believe, but I believe we did look at different locations for the pond, and this was basically the spot it had to go, because, well, we didn't want, those are the everybody wants to back up to a pond, right, or most people want to back up to a pond. Well, we have to waste this prime real estate with a pond, and that was kind of the spot that it had to go, given where the streets are and everything. That was where it was determined that it had to go.
Okay.
And could we redesign it and see if something else could work? Possibly, but that's tens of thousands of dollars to redesign that, and we believe this is a good layout and that it will work for us.
So Ken, if I'm reading it right, it goes from 2 single-family lots behind 503 to proposed 3 units that would be up against adjacent to their lot on 503. And then 505 would, instead of having 1 single-family unit, there would be 2.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. As it's drawn on here. Now, again, the statement I gotta make is staff hasn't reviewed this in any detail for, setback concerns, that type of thing. Possible there could end up, probably not gonna be any more units, could potentially be less, but we haven't looked at it in that level of detail.
Why does it have to be approved tonight? Can't we do that detail first so we could get a look at it to see how to see if we can put a berm and landscaping in. Maybe that'll be acceptable to the residents behind there. I don't know. You know, I mean, there's still a lot of what ifs out there. And
Yep.
I mean,
So,
can't we do that review first before changing the ordinance and the zoning?
I could probably let Jason speak to it, but I believe without putting a bunch of money and engineering and whatnot into it, that is why they're looking at just the rezoning here tonight. I don't want to speak for Jason, so.
Yeah, the engineering that we need to do to get to the next step is roughly $35,000 to $40,000. So we prefer to have a understanding of what we're gonna be able to do and what we're not gonna be able to do before we spend that type of money. We've already redesigned this, you know, we already spent a lot of money designing it back in 2005, 2006, 2007. And I guess I'm not comfortable spending that kind of money not knowing if it would get rezoned or not. If the city would like to sponsor that work, then
Well, I'm sure you could build it into the cost of the units, right? Well, I'll have to wait. I mean, as it sits right now, I have a tough time approving it. Not because I know the quality of work that you guys do. I'm sure it would be fantastic, but I have 15 people here that live directly there and will be affected by it. So I'll wait to hear what they say, and maybe there is still some compromising that we can do. I'd like to see it work on both sides. You guys to put in what you guys want to put in, make the residents happy, and forward from that point. But let's hear them talk first, I guess. Thank you for answering my questions.
Yep.
Okay.
Mayor, before you maybe open it up for audience comment, Ken is the staff person that was involved back with working with this development back in, 06, 07. Can you talk a little bit about what the city went through with the comprehensive plan and the development process that conceptually has the commercial zoning, the multifamily, and the residential relative to what was proposed versus the expectations that some of the neighborhood residents have tonight? Can you talk about what occurred back in the original adoption with this?
Yeah, so I'll probably back up, even predating the land use plan that governs basically everything on the east side of what was currently the city limits before Eastland was developed. So we didn't actually have anything in our comprehensive plan to the east of city limits, but basically would have ended right at the edge of 3rd Street until our comp plan was adopted in 2005. We had a comp plan that basically we outgrew very quickly in this general area of the city. So when a lot of these homes were actually built in 2003, that time frame, we had no comprehensive plan for this area. That's why we did the comprehensive plan update. I started here in the fall of 04, came in kind of at the tail end of the adoption of the comp plan, but there was no future land use plan for this area. So if realtors had been telling people this was going to be single family at that time, I can't speak to that, but we did not have a land use plan on anything east of that until February 2005 when that comprehensive plan was adopted. Around that time, as Jason said, we actually worked on the plat, various meetings. I think we had our initial public hearing back in 2005 probably initially when we had a lot of the neighbors here at that time. And it was a discussion point to talk about multifamily further to the south, as Jason mentioned, and we had just adopted our comp plan, so we're from a staff level, the mindset that, boy, we just came up with this idea to have the medium density residential follow this line, and that was not a recommendation from a staff level to change that at that time. Obviously, we've had changes in the economy. We've updated our comp plan, again, back in 2012. A lot of that had to do with consideration for what we call life cycle housing, to include a variety of housing from starter homes on up to kind of your end of life cycle housing before you go into assisted living, that type of thing. So we have those provisions in our comp plan. We had them in the comp plan back in 2005 as well, but probably added a number of other points to note that truly, if we want to keep people in New Prague, there's got to be a variety of housing to suit them through their entire life. So made it a little easier for looking at areas to be rezoned, specifically upzoned to medium and high density residential. And that's really how we got to where we're at today. So yeah, I fully acknowledge that back in 2005, it was not, or 2007 when this was adopted, it was not staff's recommendation to go any further south than what we had there. You can read the staff report, you look at the minutes, it's all in there. But, you know, that was 9 years ago, and our housing conditions are a bit different today than they were at that time. I am of the like mind that, as Jason notes, I think it can certainly work to have a couple of 2-unit townhome buildings on the north side and then transition into single family. We have other areas where we have that. Case in point would be up on 2nd Street Northwest in the Chard development. We've got some high density residential. We've got a 2-unit twin home right into single families. Does it create, as Jason says, a neighborhood feeling? No. It can work. It just doesn't have the uniformity, I guess, in that block. So that's just my professional opinion on that.
When did you purchase that property, Jason?
I want to say 2002, 2003 at the latest.
Okay.
Somewhere in there.
It was before it was zoned, though?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. It was outside the comp plan when we purchased it.
okay.
Which is precisely the reason we're going through the process, as Ken already alluded to, is that just because it was in that configuration when it was adopted doesn't necessarily mean that it has to stay that way in perpetuity. The council has to debate and analyze and listen to all sides as far as whether there should be a change or not, and then determine whether the zoning is appropriate based on the land use change. So just because it's in there as that doesn't automatically mean that it has to stay that way, and that doesn't mean I'm saying that it should necessarily be changed. But as a developer, he has a right to come in and request and to go through the process that he is, just as he is at the present time. You as policymakers are the ones that have to weigh that change, listen to the neighborhood impact, listen to what he's got to say, and then ultimately make that choice.
Yeah, to me, that line is kind of random. It's the same with the commercial property up there. At the time, we thought that commercial right behind Colburn's was gonna be a good idea. But now, 10 years later, there's a lot of what I call secondary commercial lots off of Highway 19 that have been sitting vacant for a lot of years. So rather than continue to let those sit around and not have a use and not utilize those better, we're choosing to change those from commercial, or asking to change those from commercial to the medium density residential for a use that we're in short supply of and that we can make a good use of and increase the tax base of the city and make it a win-win for everybody.
Okay. Any other questions or comments to Jason? Okay, if not, thank you very much, Jason.
Thank you.
Okay, as I stated before, that now we'll open the floor up to any public comment. And again, I appreciate if you would state your name and your address.
Hi, my name is Nate Stika. I live at 505 Prague Court Southeast, and I just want to start off by take the time to listen to what we have to say. I'm here today representing the families, behind me a little bit and in our neighborhood. A lot of our neighbors have sent emails to the city council voicing their opinions and concerns in regards to the rezoning plans. It is my understanding that in 2007, the city council voted unanimously to not change the zoning, and at that time it was stated that it was not what the city planned for this area. So our question is what has changed since 2007? Putting the medium density residential homes directly behind single family residential homes can change the feel of a neighborhood. We have many children in our neighborhood who run around playing freely all day and evening. WIT has stated that the average buyer of their townhomes are empty nesters. As a parent, my concerns with this are the noise and play that come with residential family homes. And I would hate to see the kids in our development have to change the way that they play because of noise levels, or silliness that comes with being a kid. My wife Angela and I have asked multiple realtors in New Prague and outside of New Prague about the possibility of medium-density residential homes directly behind single-family homes and how it would affect resale value and home value. And the realtors that we spoke with said that they did not have any developments that currently had townhomes directly behind single-family homes, so they could not comment on what it would or would not do to the values of our homes. They did say that the resale of a single-family home butting up two townhomes could face some troubles with certain buyers. The statement from all of them is that there's no way to determine if a home value and resale value will be affected until the townhomes are up and you try to sell your homes. As a homeowner and as someone who has purchased our home 3 years ago with the understanding that there was to be development behind us and that this development was to be single-family residential, we would rather not be the ones to find out whether or not it would affect the home value and or resale value of our homes. We are asking as a neighborhood that the city and WIT leave the existing single-family area in green as is. As a neighborhood, we have no issue with everything north of the green, single-family area being zoned medium-density residential. We are asking that you please think of those of us who have purchased our homes in this area with the understanding that the development behind us would be single-family residential and not townhomes. We ask that you understand that changing this would change the feel of the neighborhood, a neighborhood that we feel very blessed to be a part of, and we just thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have a quick question, if you
Yeah.
don't mind, just on behalf of other residents in that area. Is there some type of compromise that you guys could see? I mean, for example, Jason had said that, you know, possibly putting a berm and landscaping, trees, is something like that. I mean, have you guys been talking back and forth to each other? I mean, I'd like to see this work out.
Sure,
you know,
no, I understand, right.
For both sides. And,
Yeah,
it seems like we're not that far apart, with some minor changes, you know. And even if there might be some additional costs for Jason, you know, it's still from whether or not we can voice our opinion that we would grant this zoning change after we see the plans that maybe could be acceptable to you guys as well. Is there anything, I mean, what are your feelings?
Yeah, well, I guess we haven't truly discussed the fact about the berm aspect. I guess right now we're in the process of just seeing if we still can get the switch to single family. So we haven't really totally discussed that aspect. You know, and we know it builds beautiful homes, beautiful townhomes, everything. We're just wanted to keep it a feel of the backyards being not segregated from single family to townhomes, you know. And I even think I thought in the plan too there was even like a threeplex that I potentially thought that was going to go behind the homes too, but maybe I was wrong on that. But
There is.
there is a threeplex, so you know, and you know, I don't know how that affects home value or not, but it affects the feel of a neighborhood when you're putting threeplexes, you know, potentially behind single family. So
if, for example, he did take those first 3 lots and change those to single family, would you have a problem with that?
No.
The rest of it, or?
no, not at all.
Okay.
Those are already single family.
No, if Jason were to take these 3 corner lots that are directly behind the houses in the cul-de-sac and build single family, not the multi-family units, the medium density is what I was talking.
Yep, I mean, that's exactly what our point is really tonight.
I mean,
Everything else
essentially
is great.
He loses 2, 4, 7 units out of 26 or whatever there is total. But it's not like that property's just gonna sit vacant. I mean, he could build single-family homes there and sell
Yep.
those as well, too.
Yeah, exactly,
Whether they're spec
right.
homes or what.
Right.
Regardless of the fact that there's, you know, 200-plus lots around town. So, I mean, mean, your homes are selling, Jason, up in Heritage, I know. And you guys would be fine with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I asked if he would be okay to have the single-family homes on those first 3 lots that are directly behind,
503 and
The-
505.
right.
Sorry, yep.
and then build the rest of the multifamily or the medium-density stuff outside of that. So essentially, Todd, you would have, your backyard would have a backyard of a single-family home. I'm just trying to find some type of compromise there, amongst
Yep.
this. So,
Yeah, I can kind of speak from experience because my house does back up to a tri-unit. And I hate to say it, I don't feel any difference in the neighborhood feel. We got kids playing in our neighborhood,
Sure.
just like any other neighborhood. So, I mean, I mentioned to Todd that, I sit on my deck and there's a triplex right there. I mean, and I look at it as just another housing facility. I don't look at it as, oh, that's 3 different people, 3 different groups of people living in that house. And I can tell you, if you want to see my tax statement, it's not going down. So, so I have some, issues on that stuff. I know there is a feeling that you think of, I could see if you were putting a certain type of thing in, and ours aren't even high end, the ones behind ours. I would say, Ken, wouldn't you, the ones on Village?
Probably more of a mid-level.
Yeah, so we're not talking high-end townhomes, twin homes, and tri-homes behind where I live. So I've never had an issue with feeling that we weren't in a neighborhood. Because my thought is it's not the houses that make the neighborhood, it's the people that make the neighborhood.
Sure.
And that's just from experience. I'm telling you, I know you guys are grappling with these concepts, but I'm someone that lives with it, and I don't even look at it any different than any other neighborhood.
Sure.
Chuck, because I was there in that neighborhood before, and they were supposed to be high level. They were supposed to be 250 plus, those units. They were supposed to be cottage units. That's what was sold to me when I looked at that lot in that area, and ultimately built my house in that area. And when those lots didn't sell, or those cottage styles weren't selling, and this was in the early 2000s, well before the crash, when everything was booming, and that Geiger O'Neill development changed that and started allowing different homes in there. And so, I'd like at the very least, Jason's commitment to, if he's building high-end homes, and let's say he starts in right behind Coburn's there, that's already zoned medium density, and let's say those, 11 different units, if those units weren't selling, who's to say what could go into those? Jason might think that there's I can't sell a $300,000 one, but maybe I can sell a 210 townhome, and now it's zoned, and then he has the right to do that. So is there any stipulations that we could put on it to make sure that if this zoning does go through, that it's a certain style or a certain dollar value?
I think that's a slippery slope to
It is, isn't
to
it?
do that.
You can't do it, but I'm just saying, Jason's a good businessman, Jason, I understand.
Can I comment to that?
Yeah, that'd be great. Sure, come on up so you can.
So they can hear it on.
I'll stay there. My comment to that would be, Heritage Village was started before the housing crash, 76 units, and we did not change. Actually, through the crash and after the crash, the prices went up. So we stayed with our commitment. There was a number of years we didn't, or not a number of years, but a few years we sold maybe 1 unit, and that cost us a lot of money, but we stuck with the design that we chose and the intent. We didn't decide to change it halfway through and cheapen up the product, and that took us 10 years to build that out.
Right.
When we started it, it was going to go a lot faster than that.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
But a lot of things happened, and did it go a lot slower than we wanted it to? Yes, but we stuck with what we were doing, and we didn't change it halfway through. We actually made them better as the development went on, or they increased in value as the development went on. And we would, the philosophy would be similar here, because I know that, I have confidence that the product would sell, because we've sold those out. It took a little bit longer than we wanted to, but yet, and there's still people looking for that type of unit.
Well, I appreciate what you did up in Heritage as well, and you did stick to that. That's a testament to being a good local business that's well respected, and I appreciate that. But you could see where I'd want to ask that
Yes.
question,
Yep.
because
Yeah.
it has happened with other developers
Yep.
that they can't sell what they initially planned, and then it starts going less
Yes.
and less, which could theoretically have a huge impact on the property values of those homes right
Yes.
behind it, so.
And I would say I can make a promise to do that, but I would say look at the track record that we've established,
Right.
that we didn't throw in the towel and try and cut and run.
Sure.
We're members of this community, and we probably care about what we do in this community more than many people think, I think.
Okay, well, and I appreciate that too, so, thank you.
One thing to note, Sean, briefly too, that's the nice part about a planning unit development is there would be, a drawing similar to that's what they would be tied into building. If they did not follow that, they'd have to come back for an amendment. So they couldn't just simply say, we're gonna build a smaller unit and have it, be a completely different layout. It would have to come back before you in a public hearing with the neighbors and go that route. And not to say that that couldn't happen, but
Right.
there would be
well,
a process for
and
it.
councils change and,
True.
things like that too, so there's always different people on there, but.
So I do want to note that, once that's in place, you don't change it until you come back for your approval.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions, comments? Yeah.
Good evening, thank you. Todd Anderson. I live at 503 Prague Court. Mr. Mayor, your backyard faces the front of the townhomes, correct? Not the backyards, correct?
No, the back.
You look at the back?
Yeah.
And you live on a
I,
threeplex?
yes, I'm on Doherty, and right behind me is the backyards of the triplex that faces Village.
Okay,
So my house faces east, those triplex faces west.
I just wanted clarification.
Yeah, so it is backyard to backyard.
Okay. I want to say, Nate was up here and we did talk a little bit about what we'd like to see in the backyard. Councilmember Ryan kind of says, is there a compromise? When we sat at planning and zoning the other night, came up, this has to be all or nothing, this plan, and that came from Councilmember Tuma. There is compromises, so I appreciate Councilmember Ryan saying that we can compromise and ask that you don't pass this tonight and let the whole plan, there's too many what-ifs out there right now. We don't know what WIT's going to build, and they do build a quality single-family home, which could very well make a very nice neighborhood, an added neighborhood, and that's what we were expecting when we moved in. When this came up in 2007, we sat at the planning and zoning, and it was unanimous, as Nate said. I was there, Nate was not, he's new to the neighborhood. We just ask to answer those what-ifs. And right now, nobody can answer those questions. It's what if maybe we could do this, or what if we could do that. I'd like, if I could take a moment here, Councilmember Ryan, you talked about Outlot C on there, moving that down to the bottom. That's a good plan. You can shift townhomes up. You can gain probably 6, maybe, you can move those 6 up, the 3 units on the east side of Altum Avenue. You can move those up and possibly gain even 1 more unit. If you look, you can move those 3 up and gain 1 more right off a 3rd, access off a 3rd. Nobody's ever looked at that. The threeplex back there, that's kind of, nobody wants a threeplex behind them. We want single family, and we ask that we keep it single family. And Jason kept talking about transition. Well, there's a transition moving from, he's already asking for, 2, 3, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 units behind Coburn's. He's already gaining more townhomes, asking for that to be rezoned. I'm here on behalf of myself, my wife, the family, and the neighbors. Nate already stated it. We just want to keep the single-family homes, single-family behind our homes. We're not arguing that WIT wants more townhomes and doesn't build a beautiful townhome or single-family home, but there's too many what-ifs. We don't know what kind of designs are gonna be. And I appreciate you, Councilmember Ryan, asking if we can move Outlot C down more towards Fifth Street and converting the 6, moving them up. I truly think if we could look at that plan and answer that what if, Jason could get, instead of losing the 3 units behind our house, we can keep the single family and still gain one up on the outlot on that side, if we can do that. But I just ask tonight that the council looks at it and gets the what ifs answered if we could, because there's too many out there right now. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, if I could clarify or ask Ken to clarify, is that under Minnesota law, when a request comes in for a rezoning or the land use change, is there not a required time frame that the council is required to act one way or another?
Yeah, we are required to act within 60 days to either approve or deny. We can ask for an extension if need be. Basically, we don't ask for the extension. We can grant an extension up to 120 days. We actually did that a couple of times for the Eastland Development. That's possible.
And if for any reason the council were not to act within that required timeline, then what
Then it is
occurs?
automatically approved if there is no decision made.
So I'm not trying
Timeframe?
to acknowledge that your question to table or delay or to try to get more answers, but the council as a governmental entity under Minnesota state law is required to act on the request as it comes forward within a certain time frame, or can provide an extension if there's additional information they would like, but is still required to act on that within a certain required time frame, or it automatically is approved. So I just asked Ken to make sure he could identify that so that the council knew what you're up against there.
Right. Well, Jason, do you want to come up again?
I just wanted to comment.
Sure.
Answer a couple things. The question about, the question about driveways on Third, Ken can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no driveways allowed on Third Street
Correct,
in
there's
this
not.
area, so there isn't an option to put driveways onto Third and add units there. That, thinking back, that was taken into account partly with where the pond was located also. And then, my other point. Oh, we've submitted, Ken can correct me if I'm wrong too, but yes, we could design the whole thing and we could be here with everything designed, but that's, tens of thousands of dollars worth of design, and we've submitted everything that's required when you're rezoning, I believe, at this point. That's part of the process is to rezone and then get into the conditional use permit and the planned unit development, and that's where we would have the details for the specific units and what they will look like and how big they will be, and the council and the planning commission will be able to say, no, that's not good enough, or we need to modify that. So there is many more meetings and times for residents, council, planning commission, city staff to comment and address many of the concerns.
Would you look at doing that? I mean,
What's that?
Would you look at listening to the concerns of those people and whether some of the ideas that we kicked around, whether, I don't know if they're feasible or not, but I mean, but those lots that are directly behind those homes, would you consider maybe seeing if you could move that up and so you can still keep the units together, and consider putting single-family homes in there?
No, at this time, we want that layout.
So you're not,
approved the
you
way
don't
it
want
is.
to compromise on that?
Not on where the units will be, no.
Okay.
Because,
And I understand, I don't want you to eat $35,000, but I'd feel a
Yep.
lot better knowing that the residents that are affected by this were okay with it too in voting yes. I mean, I want your business to do well. I mean, I like the idea of adding those units, but even if it's $35,000, I don't think anybody's saying that it won't pass, you'll spend that money and then it won't pass. But if there could be some type of redesign or relook that you could do, I mean, for 26 units, and let's say it is you said $40,000, that's $1,250 a unit somewhere on, on a $250,000 to $300,000 house, you could
That's
recoup
easy
that
to,
cost.
that's easy to say, but we've already spent literally hundreds of thousands of dollars designing this, and we're spending a lot of money to design it the way that we feel we have laid it out very well, the way it is. And we feel strongly about that.
Okay. Well, I'm only one vote, but as it stands like this, and it pains me to do it because you're a great local company to have here, and I appreciate everything you do for this community, but as it stands, I got to vote no.
Yep. Yeah, and
In this
that's,
situation.
yep, that's
You
your
know,
job.
And I just wonder if we did vote no and we didn't pass, if you wouldn't go back to the table and take a look at something that might actually pass. Knowing you and being a good businessman, you're not just going to let that property sit. You're going to come up with another plan. And, you know, I don't want to have to force your hand. I was hoping that you'd say, yeah, I want to work with these guys. Let's come up with a plan.
I
Let's
knew
talk
that
with
this
them
would be
about
an
it.
issue ahead
Yeah.
of time, right? So I didn't, this wasn't new to me.
Right.
But this is the design that we chose after hours and actually years of trying to come up with a use that would fit and make the most sense for the residents, for people that are gonna be moving into here. This isn't something we thought of 2 days ago and decided to submit it.
Right.
We've,
But you anticipated that the residents might be upset.
yes.
Okay.
But we're trying to do everything that we can by maintaining, we haven't proposed bringing in low-end starter townhomes. We
Right, I
haven't
understand
proposed
that.
any of that. And no one has told me what the negative is to this that we're proposing as far as backing up. So I guess I'm having a hard time understanding why we should compromise on that layout when no one has decided or even come up with a fact of why this is going to affect their property.
Well, like they said, there's a lot of what-ifs, and they're concerned, you know?
Well, I
Right or
understand their
wrong. I mean,
concern.
you could, you know, it's not your property that's butts up
That-
against it, so.
Well, if we say they're single-family units, there's a lot of what-ifs.
Absolutely,
Right?
absolutely.
What's gonna come in the backyard? Who's gonna buy there? There's what-ifs in anything we do. But
Exactly.
we're actually putting more control over what's gonna go in there than if we leave it the way it is.
Right. Alls I'm saying is that it'd be nice if you guys could come up with some type of compromise on it. Because as it stands right now, I'm gonna vote no. I don't know about the rest of you, but I just can't.
So what we're really looking at is, instead of 3 families, we have 5, correct?
On that short
Yep.
section, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yep. And I would contend less traffic, not more traffic.
If I can add just one piece, it doesn't directly relate this, but it kind of does. I had a neighbor, I'm neighbor with many of these people, as a number of us are here, and I had a different neighbor approach me over the weekend who is a senior, who's in a single-family home, and who came to my house to tell me that there's just not enough senior living, not that these are specifically senior living, and not that he is looking for exactly this kind of a layout. But he's to the point where he wants to sell his house and he doesn't have a place to go to. And so I think this kind of plays into the need of the community. I think Chris and Ken kind of stated to the needs of the community. And so as I struggle with this it's our neighbors wanting to keep everybody happy, trying to find compromise, I'm trying to look at it as a whole too of what our whole community is needing. And so I just want to acknowledge that I do think we lack that transitional housing in the city of New Prague, and I think there is a need, so.
Okay. Any other comments? More than, okay. Sounds good. I guess from there, do we have any more statements or comments from the council?
Yes, I have a few, or at least one for sure. Excuse me. This morning, I had a call from an elderly man that lives in an association right now. In fact, he lives right behind you guys. He's on Village Street. And that street has been a pain in the butt I think, from the council's point of view, for a long time. It is an association. It was, I believe, zoned medium density
And high density.
and high density. It has been filled in with single homes. The individual that talked to me was a senior resident, owns one of the townhomes, and has a continuous battle with one of the neighbors who happens to be a younger couple with 3 kids. His contention is that there's a lot of noise, which there would be. And his comment, and I'm not sure if it's the same person that Jenna talked to, I doubt it, but it might be. He wants to sell as soon as that association breaks up, and is apparently in the process of disbanding. Having said that, the developers of that particular street have nothing in common with the Witt construction. It was a mess up before I think it ever got off the board, in my opinion. I can't speak for the rest of the council, but it is not a good example of a mixed density situation. Knowing many of the people that are in Heritage and having been in many of those townhomes, in my opinion, they're very beautiful. There isn't a lot of traffic there. I can't believe that the people that bought those homes would have a problem even with somebody living next door in a single family. I've been in this community most of my life, been a homeowner here for 38, 39 years, and I find that there is more problems in single-family areas than there are in medium density. And I've encountered some of them personally. So I think my opinion on this was the same as Sean's before we started all this. I too don't think that we're dealing with some of the issues that the neighbors fear. I think we've got a good, I think Witts have put in a lot of thought to it. I think they build the kind of homes that most people would be proud to own. The people that I know that are in Heritage, I don't see them as being individuals that any of the single-family homeowners would have a problem with. So I don't have a big problem with approving something like this because, yes, as Jason said, you can have a lot of different what-ifs in single-family residential, probably more than you have in one of these. So, yeah, been there, Todd.
Dave, you mentioned, though, that gentleman is leaving because of the noise of the kids. And that was one of the contentions that they had, was their backyards are full of kids. And the people that they are going to sell their house to eventually will be full of children too, butting up to those same type of seniors as the gentleman you just said. That's why I think it makes more sense if Jason tries to rework that plan a little bit. Again, to Jenna's point, I understand the need for this style of housing. There's 26 units right there. If 3 of them were single-family home, there's still going to be 17 or 18 left. That's a compromise. And we've heard it from the citizens. And Jason can still make money on single-family homes in those 3 lots right behind those houses because, to Dave's point, they do build excellent houses. And they're in demand. They're selling them on the other side of town. And I don't understand why they can't put 3 single-family homes behind the other homes and compromise with the group. That's what I'd like to see. I know Jason, he put a lot of effort into this plan, and if there was no citizens complaints, I'd be rubber stamping it right now, because it's a testament to the work that they do and the business that they do in town. But I know that property is, if we were to say no tonight, I know that Jason's not going to let that, he's going to find a plan that's going to work, knowing that the residents have certain feelings that's going to benefit him and his company, the local workers, and the local subcontractors that they hire, and something will get done. So I think if we did vote no, this same thing will come back in a rework plan. That's just my general thought.
I don't disagree with you. I think, too, if we say no, if it's a 3-2 vote, we in effect have said no.
It has to be 4-1, right?
Exactly.
Yes, before one.
Land use,
Yeah, to change the land use. So if there's,
which is the first step.
So I know that Jason will come back with something. He's got to.
yeah, come on up. Yeah, sure. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, that's probably your job to tell him to come up.
Sean, you know, you kind of took my job at the fireman's dance. It's over.
Yeah.
I'll make it short and sweet so we can get out of here. Councilmember Ryan, Dave Brujak, the compromise that you just said, we just kind of talked real quick back there. If we could get the 3 single-family homes behind like it originally is and leave it that way, we have no problem putting townhomes across the street from them. They're looking front to front, not back to back. I think I can speak for the people in the neighborhood. If we could keep the 3 single-family homes behind 503 and 505, I don't think we'd be here tonight. If that compromise came up on this, I think we'd be done and over with this whole conversation tonight. So if you guys have to vote tonight, we ask that you leave the 3 single lots. By all means,
We'd
I
have
don't
to
know
vote
if
it
you
no.
can split it and go across the street.
We don't have the option of
We
saying.
don't have that
Excuse
option.
me, I was just going to ask Ken that Scott's not here tonight, but in taking a look at the request, is the council required to vote the request up or down as it exists, or can they amend the request?
They should vote the request up or down. You can also make a second motion, I believe, to make an amended request.
So what-
Yeah, we haven't introduced any ordinance. That's, if we were at a second reading of an ordinance, then we've got an issue. We haven't even introduced any ordinance at this point. So there's wiggle room to do that.
Okay.
So Ken, what you're saying is they have to say yes to everything or no to everything?
As a first step, because that's what the request was. There could be a second motion to do an amended recommendation from the council or approval to, let's say, as you're saying, include
if-
everything except,
If this would help out WIT, help out the council instead of trying to spend thousands of dollars of WIT's money trying to rezone this and replan it. I talked to Nate and everybody sitting here that is here tonight. We would be okay with leaving the 3 single family and the townhomes across the other side. That's, I mean, we're okay with that. As long as we keep the 3 single family, the other part would be fine being rezoned to, what is it, medium residential. So I know it's either yes or no, as Councilmember Tuma said, it was a yes or no vote, all or nothing. But you guys know that you do have a choice and you can amend stuff and rearrange everything. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, any other comments from the council?
Well, I talked to the residents. I talked to WIT Construction. I drove in the area. I think a lot of the concerns with the traffic, I don't foresee that being an issue. I've walked through Heritage and Flag, and obviously it's a different layout, different through streets, but it is very quiet in those neighborhoods. We've talked about the marketability. I don't think that'll affect market values. And then I was, when I talked to Todd, and he was saying about the backyard and looking at So I thought about this a lot, and I had the same questions Sean did. In my backyard, comparing walking through Heritage and Flag, I would have no problem with the townhomes behind. I would get a little nervous with single families, because it's true, you don't know what you get. And it's just a hard decision.
Well, I'd like to see some type of compromise between WIT construction and the neighborhood. I think the best course of action is if we did vote it no. I want Jason to be successful and his company to be successful. I have no doubt they will rework this plan and come up with something that'll be accepted by both parties. Jason, you'll still make a lot of money. Keep the neighborhood happy.
Okay. Any other comments? Well, I guess we're at that final hour, or that minute. We need to make a decision, if I could speak, a decision on which way to go. So obviously the first thing would have to be a resolution amending the comprehensive plan.
Correct.
And that would have to take a major majority, or 4 out of 5 to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment to the city comprehensive plan.
Okay, I got a motion by Jenna Tuma. Do I have a second anywhere?
I'll second it.
Okay, I got a second by Dave Brusick. Okay, any other comments? Okay, then we need to do a roll call. Correct, Mike? Okay. Councilman Ryan?
Nay.
Councilman Brusick?
Yes.
Councilman Tuma? Councilman Jurek?
Aye.
Councilman Nikolai? I'm going to have to say nay. So it does not pass at this time. So I guess that's it. Correct, Ken? We don't have to do number 2?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Next on the agenda, Ken, are you going to take the...
Yes. So next item on the agenda is a request to amend the conditional use permit for, was actually a conditional use permit from back in 2002 to allow an expansion to the Autowash Systems Inc. business at 407 4th Avenue Southwest. You can see on the overhead, all the property in red is Zone B3 Highway Commercial. We have the property outlined in red that's specifically for this particular request, so all Zone B3 adjacent and abutting. I should also point out the little yellow area on there is the proposed building that Mr. Dome is proposing to add on to the north side of the site. It'd be a separate building, not attached to anything already existing in the building. So it'd be a standalone building. They want to use it for cold storage, some light manufacturing similar to what they do in their existing building. The Planning Commission reviewed this amendment to this existing conditional use permit at their meeting on March 23rd. The applicant, Brian Dome, is proposing to construct a new 42 by 96 foot building, as I pointed out, on the north side of the site. At the public hearing, we did receive comments from 2 residents that were particularly representing the property directly to the north. The former Michael Lambrecht property. It was actually a brother and sister of Mr. Mike Lambrecht that were at the meeting. They had concerns specifically about a cut that was made to the elevation on the site. The applicant noted that that it was actually cut down not for the building but for general use of open storage on the property. happens to be that additional work does need to be done to that property line along the north for the new building. We have not had our city engineer review the plans for the site plan or the building layout at this point. He will be doing that. We do have to review storm sewer requirements for that new building, so that will be reviewed. Obviously, it will be a different grade than right now. It's literally a drop of about 5 feet right at the property line. That will change significantly with the new building. There could be a retaining wall that's required, but again, that'll be looked at that point in time when we have final site plan to review. The Planning Commission ultimately did recommend approval 4-0 of the conditional use permit amendment with the findings and conditions in the staff report. And again, just a quick overview of the air photo in that 42 by 96 building shown in yellow on the site there. And this is a draft elevation of the type of construction that would match the existing building on the site in both terms of color and architectural design. Obviously, will be reviewed by our building official for state building code. And that's one of the conditions in the review document. So again, we do have a resolution in front of you tonight for approval of the amendment to the conditional use permit C9 2002.
So were the Lombrecks okay with the answer that you gave them?
I think they were looking for more of a condition specific to the cut. We do have a condition in there that the plans must be reviewed by the city engineer, public works director, building official, etc. So I believe from a staff perspective, we do have it adequately covered. If a retaining wall is needed, one will be required during the review of the actual site plan and the building plan. Yeah, I won't leave a drop there. I can assure both property owners of that. I don't know if we have a representative from Autowash in the back there. I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
Ken, as he's coming up, is a survey required before they start construction?
We don't have a survey required because actually the property was surveyed back when it was platted back about 10 years ago. And they do have the property pins located on the property.
Okay.
And our building official does verify property pin locations to verify setback at the time the foundation footing inspection is done. So yeah, that's, in my mind, that is not in question at all where that line is located.
Thank you, Ken. My name's Jeremy Dome. I'm a resident of 710 Heritage Trail Northeast in Prague. Speaking on behalf of Autowash Systems and the proposed plan, I think I'd just like to add on top of Ken's comments that the neighbors to the north, I think, have two valid concerns, and that being the lateral support of that lot line in which we'll be building adjacent to, and the other would be the, excuse me, the mitigation of any erosion or runoff. To those 2 points, I think it's going to be concluded that it's going to be necessary, for us to put a retaining wall of some sort along that north edge for 2 reasons. Number one, for access for building construction, the construction company is requiring 6 feet of space between the rear edge of the building and the adjacent property, which means we'll be needing or required to cut most likely within 2 feet of the property line and then construct a retaining wall to build adequate access to the backside. Furthermore, to keep the, again, the lot line stable and provide the adequate lateral support for the lot to the north. And furthermore, to make sure that there are no drainage or erosion concerns, which would be adversely affecting our property more so than the property to the north side. So I guess to clarify that further, yes, we do intend first and foremost to put up a retaining wall along that north edge that's adequate to support that bank. Other than that, I don't have anything else to add.
Yeah, thank you for that input.
Thanks.
Any questions for Ken or? Okay. If not, I guess I'll make a motion to approve the amendment to conditional use permit.
Second.
Second by Dave Brusick. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, passes 5-0. Next. You guys had perfect timing. Come in at the right time. Now, Mike said he was going to do the Patty version, but can we just maybe just do a little of Mike and a little of Patty?
Sure, now you want the in-between. My apologies to the the marching band, community band that's here, not marching band, but the community band that's here tonight, is that I left word with representatives of the band and the school that I thought it might be sometime 7:30, 7:45 for them to be on the agenda. And I way underestimated, as you can see, and my apologies to all of those that have spent additional time here. We just don't always know when we have issues like we did on our first one, how much time it's going to take. So my apologies. I'm sure that there was more valuable time that could have been spent practicing tonight than probably waiting in the hallway, and so I will apologize for that. All right, I had told the mayor that I was going to we have a staff person, our finance director, who tends to provide little shorter commentaries and backgrounds in the meetings, and I told him I could provide that version tonight. That's simply the request that has been forthcoming from the community band, that the funding of that expense is a public purpose, it is legal to do under the statutes, and there is funding that's available that the council could consider to do it. So that's the short version, and that's the Patty version that they're referring to. But to add to that, assuming they've also read the materials, and Russ, you did get those materials and provided them to whoever you felt needed to get that, is that the request that came from the New Prague Area Community Band back last December was a request to the city to consider taking on the funding for the band director position. The school indicated to them that effective June 30th this year, or about July 1, is it excuse me, that they would no longer provide funding for the community band and for that position. Estimated expenses for that position, including FICA, Medicare, and teachers' retirement, was about $4,440. So nothing extremely significant, but in that range. If you recall that night when we reviewed this with you back in December, we had looked at various statutes as it relates to the creation and the ongoing operation of a municipal band. As I reviewed those further with the city attorney, either looking at dollar amount or implementation, the latter one of the statutes would have required a petition that would have to have been submitted to you for consideration based on a certain number of signatures. You'd have had to approve an ordinance with language that would submit that to a referendum this fall, the timing of which and the cost to do that, to add that to ultimately the general election would have to be considered in the process. So as we took a look at those alternatives, it didn't seem like those were the most appropriate way to go, options, but really not appropriate. As the city attorney and I talked and tried to look at finding additional further capabilities, he provided me with a statute titled 471.941, Appropriation for Artistic Activities. Under that language in the Minnesota statutes, what that does allow, and you have a copy of that in your packet, but what it simply allows or provides, that an association, corporation, or other groups of persons that provides an opportunity for persons to participate in the creation, performance, or appreciation of artistic activities which include but are not limited to music, dance, drama. So I'm going to stop right there because music is one that is eligible, and the activities related to that are eligible for consideration. A statutory home rule, we're a home rule charter city, may appropriate money to support artistic organizations. That simply in and of itself is simple enough to give the council the direction should you desire to provide funding to the community band. After reviewing that with the city attorney, we determined that the community band is a corporation, a nonprofit corporation under the statutes, and have provided copies of those materials to you. In the consideration of the funding in our commentary with the school district, is the school district is still willing to act as the fiscal agent in their support of the community band as they have in the past. One of the things I was looking for as we try to deal with this issue, is there a way to simply leave kind of the current process that's been in place, that's been working? Can we leave that and still take a look at simply the funding issue? And so I provided in there kind of an overview of what the school has historically done and is willing to continue to do moving forward, with the exception of basically providing the financing that would cover the costs of the band director. In addition to the school indicating that they would continue to act in that capacity, I provided you with a background of the current board band members. Rush is obviously the director. Tried to give you a little bit of background on the band members themselves. Total of individuals involved in this activity for the community, total 35 to 40 individuals. They conveyed to me about half come from New Prague, and then in the surrounding communities of Jordan, Lonsdale, Belle Plaine, Montgomery, and Prior Lake. All of them are volunteers. None of them are paid, nor do they pay to play. They give of their love of music and I think the desire to provide music and entertainment to the community. One of the notable facts is that I believe 15 of the 40 band members have 15 plus years of experience in the band, so they've been around a long time. Their annual performances are provided in the general area, totaling upwards of 12 to 15 events annually, whether it be part of the Dojinki Saturday morning event, parade, variety show, and then in the surrounding communities again of Lonsdale, Northfield, Faribault, Prior Lake, here at Malastrana, the Guthrie Theater, Cedar Lake Park, Memorial Park, St. Wentz Church, Elko New Market, Webster Parade, and the spring concert here in New Prague. So I tried to give you a flavor of where do they perform. Assuming it's your desire to fund the request from the community band, I'd recommend approval with some contingencies. One, they're looking for funding for the second half of 2016. The cost for that is $2,220. Would propose doing a formal amendment. I've got to bring that back in the form of a resolution. I talked with finance director, and we've determined just exactly where we would bring that from, but I need to have a formal resolution prepared. I didn't at the time of the memorandum. We met today. So I would come back to you with a formal resolution, but basically the intent would be is you're going to have to amend the general fund budget to include the expense since it is not included in the 2016 budget. An indication associated with a willingness to fund the community band director's annual salary and benefits totaling $4,440 going forward and beyond, subject to any inclusion and approval in the city budgetary process on an annual basis. The group hasn't historically done a lot of work with budgeting or recap that the information that I was able to get from the school is available from their financial accounting. But my thought process is that they would need to submit that to us and consider it during our normal budgetary process annually. That they would have to give us a bit of an outline of an annual budget. Basically, our funding simply would go, if the council approves it, to cover the band director's salary. They do a lot of other fundraising and things that they get from the school, and they're not asking at the present time for any of that kind of funding to come from the city at this point in time. That could change somewhere down the future. I don't want to mislead you, but they are not asking for that, nor did they give me any indication that there's a desire to do that in the very near term. But I leave open that possibility, and when you look at the funding and the authority to do it, that request, if this continues to be successful or wants to grow or provide more performances, may result in a need to expand that. Would also tell you that I don't believe the band director's salary has changed since 2007, give or take, and so there's a likelihood that there might be a request coming forward at some point that could be modified. That as part of that, the submittal of an annual budget and the prior year's accounting of their activities be due by July 1st, 31st of each calendar year, so that fits into our budgetary process, and potentially just the creation of a memorandum of understanding between the city, school district, and the band, outlining the things that we have contained in here so that everybody kind of knows going forward. The school will continue to do these elements. The city will fund the band director position if that's what you choose to do, and that they'll have to provide this information on an annual basis to receive that funding. So that's as short as I can make it, Mayor, after giving you the Patty version.
I'm glad you didn't give us the long version.
Would have rather had
But we met
Patty.
several times.
Well, the band director almost makes as much as the mayor.
But he deserves a lot more than you do, though.
This is true. I think when we had this first initial request, I think it was the consensus of the council that the New Prague Community Band is really an asset to our community. And I would be honored to make the motion to fund the band directors for the second half and also put them under our budgetary process going forward.
With the contingencies.
Yeah, there's 5 contingencies. Page 4.
That has to be part of the motion, right? With contingencies.
That's my recommendation to you.
Okay.
Whether you choose to accept it, change it, modify it is your choice.
Yeah, right there, Chuck.
With the 5 contingencies then. Okay.
I'll second.
Yeah, second by Sean Ryan. Any other comments?
I don't know, Mayor, if our band director would like to make any comments. I left it open that he certainly,
I'm more than happy to, although I'm kind of happy with how things have gone so far. Like I need to, but
Just don't take my parking
no,
spot.
it's okay. I would just like to, I appreciate what you're saying. I also believe that the New Prague Area Community Band is definitely an asset to not only this community but the surrounding areas. The people you see behind me, we work hard together in order to provide that entertainment for the community members, and I really do believe that it's a positive thing. To your point, Mike, in regards to the possibility of future funding in excess of the band director's salary, I don't see that as being something that we would be looking for. I think we do a really nice job of managing our money and only spending what we have. When I first came on board back in 2007, 8, whenever that was, there was a couple of instances where community education paid for a few things, a few pieces of music here and there, just to more or less get things back up and rolling. But really, since that point, we've done our own fundraising. We've maintained our own monies, even though we're not really in charge of them because of the fiscal agent piece through Community Ed. So I really don't see us coming forward and asking for more money than just to cover the director's salary piece.
I provided that to the council, that having worked in a number of different communities with different band arrangements, that again, not curtailing how successful this band might become and what it might want to do, is just wanted to leave the opening there that the council recognize. Again, they have the choice in what they choose to fund or not, that could come if there's change of players or people in the process, and so don't be surprised. But as Rush indicated, there is no request pending at the present time.
Okay. Well, thank you for your comments.
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
Previously, if you could just refresh my memory, talking about grants for the arts, and before it was because you didn't have a does this help? Or not, because you still have to
It does, but kind of not directly. The issue that we've come up with, and this is kind of why we're here, is Community Ed has always paid the director's salary. However, we've always had a carryover of funds at the end of the year. We need to do that in order to get specific grants. We need to show that we have a percentage that we are actively raising and putting towards the purchase of the larger piece of equipment or whatever it might be. And the problem and the issue that community education has is that come the end of the financial year for them, they have one of their offerings with a negative balance but wanted to carry forward a positive balance into the next financial year. So the band director's salary is more than what we would have often in our coffers. So we want to carry that over to the next year, but then they say, well, hang on, you want us to pay this amount of dollars, which is going to really put you in the red for the year. How does that work? And they can't really operate like that anymore. So it does help us that it takes that off the plate. It takes that problem away. And they've indicated that they would not have a problem just carrying over the balance from year to year so that we can just manage it like we would our personal finances and have the positive money there. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
The other thing that I would ask, now that when you go to other cities, is to really push New Prague for people to come here and visit, especially now that the city's funds are going to it.
I mean, and that's the nice thing about the band is I think it's a good thing for the community that we do branch out and play in the surrounding areas. So it does get the name. We adjusted it early on to the area because we wanted to invite more people to come and join. And you're all more than welcome to come and join. We rehearse Monday nights at 7 o'clock. Not sure if you got anything on, but
Usually busy that night.
So with us getting out to different communities, I think that does spread the word just with our name. But I mean, we go up as far. We play in the Guthrie pretty much every year. So that's in downtown Minneapolis. So I think it's a good thing for the community, and yes, we do represent in that way, and I'm more than happy to have more people in the band, as many as we can get.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, we have a motion by myself, second by Sean Ryan. there's no other comments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. There are upcoming concerts if you'd like to come and attend. Sunday week at the high school. We'll be there at 2:30 performance time. You're more than welcome to come along.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sure that will be in the New Prague Times, right, Patrick?
It will be. Called it today. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, I think you're taking the next one?
We have before you budget amendment and award of the Settlers Park repurposing project. As the council's aware, we've been working on this project for quite some time, trying to get the ball fields at Settlers Park regraded, not only to correct some drainage issues, particularly on the south field, which I think we call field number 2, but as well as providing some grading to stripe some youth soccer fields out on that field area as well. We solicited quotes last year, received quotes from K.A. and Chard Tiling and Excavating. Both exceeded our budget amount at that point substantially. We rebudgeted in this year's budget the amount of $71,000 for the project. Solicited quotes again and received again quotes from both K.A. and Chard Tiling and Excavating. Again, both were above the $71,000 budget amount. The quote from K.A. totaled $80,500, and the quote from Chard Tiling and Excavating totaled $79,661.50. So even with that, Chard Tiling's quote was $8,661.50 over budget. We did note that K.A. had reduced their quote from last year. Chard Tiling and Excavating actually raised their quote from the previous year. We do not believe costs are likely to go down for this project. We do need to get the work done on the fields. We continually have that field number 2 that sits underwater for extreme periods of time, falling rain, making it generally unusable for scheduled games and practices. In addition to that, we also have the need for the youth soccer fields for community ed and generally just for recreational soccer by anybody in the city that would just like to go out and have a pickup game for soccer. We did identify additional funding sources that were based on cost savings from the street department. If you recall the recent purchase of a pickup truck and then a joint purchase of a pickup truck between water and the street department, that total over the amount needed to make the budget amendment. So what we are proposing is a budget amendment via resolution that would provide for a transfer of $10,000 from the street department capital outlay to the park board budget that would accommodate the increase in the project cost. So that way we could finally move forward on this project and get it done here in the fall. So staff does recommend approval of the attached budget resolution to transfer the $10,000 from the street department capital budget to the park board budget, and then to make the motion to award the project to Chard Tiling and Excavating as the low bidder for the project.
Any questions for Ken?
No, but I have one for Glenn. Didn't you tell us last Wednesday that your department is going to need a new piece of equipment that you're going to come and ask us for?
No, I just told you. Yeah, well, we feel the Settlers Park project's been put off a little too long already, and it just was the way to get the project done. So, yeah, you're right. We did talk about that.
Okay, any other questions? We don't want to know what kind of new piece of equipment it was, but.
Well, it sounded reasonable to me, but.
Okay, I guess I'll look for a motion to amend the budgets and transfer the money over from the street to the park, and then accept the Chard Tiling bid, the low bid of $79,000.
So move. I'll second it.
Okay, Amy, we'll give you this one. You're the old park, you got it there.
Yeah, I'm the park person.
There you go. Motion by Amy Jurek, second by Dave Brusick. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay. Thank you very much. Next.
You did those both together, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Jim, you were awful quiet today, so.
We'll try and keep it that way.
Did you notice everyone left now, Jim?
I did. I kind of felt bad for a second there. I provided you with council and honorable mayor with a memo on the year-end report for 2015. Generally speaking, in the middle of the page there, we had about a 12% increase in calls for service. That kind of bounced it back up to about average, or the historical highs, or historical average anyways. There was a slight decrease in Part 1 and 2 crimes. In your packet, there's a list of the Part 1 and 2 crimes. And then there was about a 18%, 19% decrease in citations issued. That number also includes written warnings that are given out also. 10% decrease in the DWI arrests. 10% is about five less there. And then we did notice a increase in alarm calls over the past year versus 2014. In the previous memo that I did for 14, I commented that we mitigated a lot of alarm calls by concentrating on like the schools and different areas that we get a lot of alarm calls. Those kind of bounced back. But some of those could be weather related too, like when we have thunderstorms go through, or if we have a power surge or something, we can get 5-6 alarm calls just because of a storm then, or more. The table down below is calls for service broke out, and that saw about a 14% increase. But again, that if you look on page 3, that just kind of brought it back to about average. We did see an increase in assist other departments, which previously I had spoke about. We get referrals from Scott County Human Services, Lesueur County Human Services. It was in an effort, they changed the law that we needed to communicate better. So if we get an incident reported to us, we refer it to them. When they get incidents reported, they refer it to us, just so there's some cross-reporting there. Those have been increased by about 80 for 2015. Those along with also adult protection referrals. I think the effort is good, the law change is good, that there is, we always communicated, I guess, but now we're mandated to report back and forth, and that is happening. But it does take up more time and officer time to investigate each of those, and generally they come in by email or they're faxed in, and if I'm in during the day, I would refer them, create an incident for them, and then assign them to an officer so that each one is looked into and taken care of. And at the same time, we're documenting that we did receive this referral, this is the outcome, just to keep everything documented for those events. The page 2 of the memo just talked about various things that we did involve our department with, various outreach programs, half marathon, Memorial Day Parade, National Night Out. We had an officer retire, Officer Brooks, Dozinki celebration, visit to New Day Church, hiring Officer Jessica Bourne, shop with a cop. We took part in, we did it here in Lesueur County. We shopped at Shopko. There were 17 children involved, and the middle right picture is the Shopko, Shopko shopping that night. A lot of departments were involved in it. We shopped there. They had a budget of $250. Once we did the shopping, officer was assigned to somebody to shop. They picked up some things for them. The child that was shopping, gifts and winter clothes, and then they picked up a couple of family gifts also for Christmas. Then they went out to Heidelberg Church, where a lunch or dinner was served to them, and then they wrapped their gifts before they were picked up by their parents. So it was a nice event. The other one, upper left, was of Shakopee's Shop with a Cop. We were involved in that this year. They chose the participants, but wanted all officers and all departments involved, or as many as possible. So I did have an officer up there that did that. Their plan is to expand that where each department would bring other residents or children up for that event. So we're looking to expand that for 2016. Overall, we did maintain pretty constant. Our numbers, again, they did on page 3. They're kind of back to historical norms. I think 14, for whatever reason, I know we looked at it last year. We were down some calls, but otherwise they've kind of leveled out and are about the same now. A lot of information here. These numbers are pulled together by our secretary, and she groups them in the same way that we have in the past. With our new records management system coming online in the next couple of months, we'll look at what type of reports we are able to pull, and probably more timely where we're able to watch them constantly. And I'd look at maybe doing some reports and posting them on Facebook every week or every month, something like that. Other than going through and reading general trends, our drug arrests were down this year. DWI is down just slightly. We have been spending much more time just doing investigations with referrals, gas drive-offs. Those are on the increase again, even with gas being down. We get a lot of calls on them. And oftentimes, they are classified as a gas drive-off. If it was a simple, whether it was somebody failed to pay, somebody ran their card, thought they paid, or if it was a clerk error where somebody pumps gas, goes inside, grabs a couple items, and leaves, and if the clerk never asked them, hey, did you have gas, it goes unpaid. Oftentimes, it's just time spent investigating it, figuring out who the vehicle belongs to, making contact, and then determining what happened, and normally they go back and take care of it. But it can be, some gas stations call us more often than others, but it can take up a lot of time just doing that process. If in fact it was somebody that just pumped gas and left, and there's a history of it, we would issue citations for the theft then. That's really all I have, unless you have any direct questions or comments or concerns.
With this new detective that you are planning to bring on, I think in the middle of the year, where do you see him, with all this, where do you see that position fit in? Where would they be doing most of their work, in what areas?
I think the referrals, I'm looking at starting that timeline now and get somebody hired, and then have somebody assigned to that. I'm looking at that as being probably a 5-day-a-week to develop some consistency with somebody else being around and available for that task. That the referrals that come in, wouldn't necessarily have to go to the day shift patrol officer then, that investigator would be available for some of those. Right now I utilize John Madigan if it's student or kid related in some child protection issues. I would assign it to him also. But that's where I'm seeing that person being able to just offer some consistent service to our community that way by being available daily. Part of that, the way I see the position, part of it is going to be flexible in that if something goes on a Sunday or Monday or a domestic arrest or something where more time is needed, that officer may be putting in his time, in 3-4 days, but then may have some time off the rest of the week. I'd look at that as a very flexible schedule to offer that continuity then.
Okay. Good. Any other questions or comments to Jim? Thank you very much. Next, Mike, is 5A. Is just the...
Yeah, there's really nothing here for you really to act on other than the reason for putting it on is that we've been asked, we met earlier in the day, but I didn't receive the materials till about 5 o'clock tonight, is the Chamber is looking at applying to the Southwest Minnesota Initiative Foundation for a grant to basically be able to provide the redo, the refreshing, and the repainting of the mural on the west side of the Edward D. Jones building. It's the one that has the old brass band, I think is what she said it was. And so they're looking at probably painting over that, and this is just a concept that they had with somebody, but they would essentially try to get better pictures, but get it refreshed, maybe change the background and be a little bit bolder. And so because they're not a 501c3 organization, you either have to have that or a governmental unit or a public agency or a school district be able to act as the fiscal host. We are not paying any money, we're not providing any funding, we're not providing any supplies or materials, equipment or anything. We just have to act as the fiscal host. So I just wanted to run that by you so that in doing this isn't necessarily a city-sponsored project, it's a chamber project. It appears that the Rotary Club is going to be donating 50% or up to about 40 hours of free painting time through its members. I didn't know that yet until today, but I guess we are going to be. And so the intent there was to simply act as the fiscal host so that they can get, I guess we have to formally accept the paint that they supply, an estimate, I think they're guessing about 35 gallons. That paint gets bought for and then it's given to us, or we act as a recipient and make sure that it's receipted in and that it's getting used for the project that they say that it's being used. So I just wanted to run that by you and to get your concurrence and approval that we're able to go ahead and act as a fiscal host.
Yeah. Any questions? Okay, I guess I'll make a motion. The city will act as the fiscal host for this Paint the Town grant.
I'll second.
Second by Jenna Tuma. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay. Next, consent agenda. Anyone have any questions, issues on the consent agenda?
I move we accept the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
You got a motion by Sean Ryan, second by Dave Brusick. There's no other comments. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay. Next, miscellaneous. Jim, anything?
Since you okayed the consent agenda, I will be sending for the parade permit for the Memorial Day. Besides that, nothing else.
Okay. Well, good, thanks. Glenn,
I've got nothing.
let's talk about this new piece of equipment. Eh?
Okay.
Yeah, let's.
Boy, Dave, you just opened a
I
can of
opened,
worms.
I guess I opened, I'm sorry, Glenn.
You better, next time you come in with a requisition, you better be saving another $10,000, it looks like.
There might not be any
It
more
threatened my
coming.
life, David. I had no choice. We'll talk about it. That's
Yeah.
coming up.
It was nice to see the lights on, though.
It was, yeah.
I saw they must have been working on this on them today. They were on during the day.
Nope, we just had them on because what happened that night when we lost that one tower right next to the swimming pool is a ballast. Actually went so bad that it created a dead short and that whole tower system popped the breaker. So we turned them on all day today because the guys were getting the field ready for the first game on Thursday evening. And we just let them run like we don't want that to happen during the game. You know, so whether that's going to be the answer to that, we'll never have another problem. I'd like to believe it is, but at least we've got some more hours on it to find little problems like that. So we'll probably do it again. You know, as long as the guys are out there working, we'll turn them on, and that way they can see a problem if it does occur. If nothing else, just kind of a blink. You know, sometimes who knows with electronics like that, you can get a blink just like a street light, and you know, probably if there's more trouble out there, we'll probably catch it. So that's why they were on.
Okay.
But other than that, I got nothing.
Okay. Ken?
Nothing.
Okay. Patrick? No? Mary Jo? No. How about just a question, how are the applicants coming for the boards and commissions? Okay. Let us know, the council know if you're looking someone for the golf board or something, say maybe we can, for the golf board? Okay, so see if we can think of some names and twist some arms, so, okay. Mike?
Nothing.
Jenna?
I got two items. One I mentioned earlier, it was about the gentleman I talked to about our senior living and the transitions to more of, he was looking for more of apartments. He was wanting to move from being a homeowner to just renting. And his fear is that he'll have to leave the city of New Prague because there's just nothing here. And so I was hoping that, I don't know if there's anything that's coming up that's public that we could have a comment on of senior facilities. I understand it's developer-led, it's not city-led, but the need is here.
We've had inquiries about people that are possibly looking at some things, but nothing that's ready to enter into the public arena at this point in time, so.
And Jenna, I want to call to your attention, we do have a resource for, basically call it rental housing, and it's a list of 4+ unit buildings in the city, and it lists how many units they have, if it's income restricted or senior housing, et cetera, like, Queens Court and Phillips Square. I'll pass this around if the council wants to just take a look, but you can pass that along to the gentleman.
Okay.
And I can email it to you, too.
I will too, I'll pass it
But
along.
as an aside, for Jenna's benefit, Ken, as we were dealing with the townhome issue tonight, there have not been any townhomes or apartments constructed in New Prague since when?
I think we're in our 10th year now, if I remember correctly.
So when you look at trying to address that segment of housing, as he says, nothing in 10 years, goes to the point that the private sector hasn't been coming forward to construct any of those items.
And then my second thing is our last meeting, Sean, you asked me to bring the recreation activity pass to the golf board, so I did. Really, it came down to two things, is they really supported the option of having one available. They talked about the customer service component to it, of having their staff be able to play the course, be able to know what's going on, talk shop, better service. They felt like it's a standard of the industry too, is to allow usually a golf course worker to play the course. And then the other area that they felt the value is it does increase play, cart sales, food, beverage, because either they're buying it or or they're bringing in another paying customer into it. So that was the feedback from the golf board, is that they would be in support of a golf pass of that nature. That's all I have.
Okay. Amy?
Nothing at this time.
John?
Nope.
David?
Nope.
I don't have anything, so I guess I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Sean Ryan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Okay, thank you, everyone.